All right, so for the purpose of this video, what I'd like to show you is how you could possibly use Ultrabeat in what is called multi-output mode. Okay, the reason why you probably want to do that is because, let's say for example, we want to create a new software instrument track, and then I've got Ultrabeat selected right there. Okay, so if I click and have a look, right? So at the moment, the output is set to stereo, which means that if I want to apply an effect of some description, such as reverb or EQ or compression or distortion or whatever you want to use, the actual effect will be applied to the entire drum mix, okay? Which is not something desirable, really. You know, you may want to be able to, maybe you want to apply some compression to your kick, maybe some EQ to your snare or some reverb, or maybe you want to add some other effects to your hi-hats and, such as delay or flanger or whatever else. So in which case, this is where the multi-outputs option becomes invaluable. Okay, so one more time, we create a new track, we select Ultrabeat, and then we select multi-output. All right, and that is that. So I'm going to click on Create, and that's it. All right, so the next step is to, in fact, go ahead and select a drum kit. So I might just dub smash, why not? I'm going to select that. All right, so as you know, if you click in this sort of little section, bottom left-hand side of Ultrabeat, you see that you've got a drop-down menu, and you've got like a range of numbers with SQ written next to it. So SQ stands for sequence, which means that there's a pattern already been written in Ultrabeat for you to use. So what we want to do, we actually want to select an empty sequence, and the next available empty sequence is in fact number 13. So I'm going to select that, and then first of all, I'm just going to make sure that I get some sounds. Yep, I do, and so on. All right. So what I want to do, I want to, like I said, for the purpose of this exercise, I just want to create something really, really simple. Okay, I'm going to create a very simple beat using kick. Oops. What happened there? Actually, I have no idea. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, let's use that instead. All right, so, and so what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a pattern using a kick, snare, and close hat, and see if you got a, maybe an open hat or pedal hat. There you go. All right, so this is our groove. So I'm going to do that, put kick on the ones, just like so. Oops. And put our snare drum on the 2s and 4s. He says 2 and 4. So listen. All right, and then we can actually put the hi-hat, close hat. We can just put that on the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so on. Okay, so quick tip, with a hi-hat you can actually be a bit sort of random. I kind of enjoy sort of creating some random patterns with a hi-hat. And just to refresh your memory, you see these blue lines down here, they're in fact velocities, which means that you can sort of increase or decrease the actual level, the volume level of a specific note. In which case, what I'm going to do next, I'm gonna do a bit of that. All right, so and so on. Let's have a listen real quick. Cool. All right. So the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm just going to use a pedal hat just to put on the offbeat, like that. Oops, what am I doing? That's that. All right. Okay. Cool. Now, like I said, I want to send each individual drum sound to its own separate output. All right, this is how you do it. Very, very easy. Let's start with a kick. So can you see that right there? It says sub 1, okay? Well, if I click right here, you can see that you've got a whole bunch of different outputs. Now, the thing is that Ultrabeat can be quite confusing when it comes down to the outputs, simply because of the fact that you've got, it says that you've got up to 24 outputs, plus you've got all this bunch of outputs underneath, and you've got a whole bunch of numbers, and we don't know what's what. Okay, just to keep it simple, Ultrabeat has 8 stereo outputs, as you can see. So you've got 1 to 8. They're in fact stereo outputs because it says main, which is 1 and 2. Output 2 is 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, and so on. And you also has 8 mono outputs. Okay, so all up he has 8 stereo going from 1 to 16 and 8 mono going from 17 to 24. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, so what I want to do, I want to actually select the first available mono output, which is in fact output 17. Okay, so I'm going to select that, and that will be for the kick drum. Okay, let's have a look, make sure that I've got the right one. Yeah, output 17. Okay, now for my snare drum, what I'm going to do, I'm going to select output 18. The close hi-hats, I'm going to select output 19. And the pedal hat, I'm going to select output 20. And that is that. All right, so that's the first step. Also, the other thing that we need to do, we need to actually import our pattern into Logic. And the way to do that, you move your mouse at the bottom left-hand side of Ultrabeat, and it says that drag to arrange window. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to simply drag that button all the way into my track and let go. All right. The other thing that you need to do, you've got to remember that whenever you import a pattern into Logic, then you have to turn the sequencer off. Okay, so let's do that. All right, and we're done. All right, now let's have a quick listen. So what I might do, I'm just going to put that in loop mode, and that's that. All right, now next step. This is the important bit. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to open my mixer page, which is right there. Shortcut, click on the letter X, okay? And right here, you can see, this is my Ultrabeat track, okay? Can you see that you've got a plus right there? Well, what the plus does, allows you to create auxiliary tracks. So you know that an auxiliary track is in fact an audio pathway, okay? So I want to send the 4 drum sounds that I have, kick drum, snare drum, hi-hats, and open hat, to their own individual outputs, which means that I need to create 1, 2, 3, and 4 auxiliary tracks. Okay? Now here's the interesting bit. You can see that as soon as I do that, you've got, this is, by the way, this is the input and this is the output. Okay? Now I need to match the input of my auxiliary track to the outputs from Ultrabeat. So now at the moment it says UB3 and 4, which is not correct. I know that our kick drum is in fact Ultrabeat 17. It's in fact output 17, right? Okay, I do that. So the snare drum is in fact output 18. My hi-hat is output 19. And the open hat is output 20. All right, just real quick, one thing as a suggestion, if this is quite a small arrangement. However, if you come up with a large arrangement, it's important that you rename your tracks. So I know that aux1, I'm going to double click on it. That's my kick. Okay, click on tab. The next one is in fact snare. Click on tab. The next one is in fact hat, and the next one again is in fact open hat, and we're on. All right, well, if our theory is correct, let's have a look, see what happens. Press play, and off we go. So as you can see now, the whole thing, I can actually I can start mixing my drums. I can turn maybe the open hat down a little bit. I could possibly, if I want to, pan it. Pan that to the left. Okay? Other things that I could do if I wish, I could actually start let's add some effects if I want to. Maybe on my kick drum, what I might do, how about I'm going to add some compression. So I'm going to go to dynamics, compressor, and that's that. So I'm going to turn that auto gain off. By the way, you can also audition you can audition sounds in isolation, so you can solo it. Okay, so what if I want to add perhaps some, by the way, you can sort of move plugins up and down. So what if you want to have some EQ? Okay, you can kind of just add a little bit of attack to it. And maybe just like, and we're on. Okay, so now for the snare drum, how about we can sort of have like a little bit of reverb, perhaps. Let's have a look. Some of those effects are pretty cool. And so on. So as you can see, you can sort of come up with a whole range of, maybe if you want, how about you just want to be quite wacky and have some delay to it for whatever reason, who knows. You know, some complex filter delay, those are pretty cool. So let's have a look at distance delay, whatever that may be. Okay, I'm going to turn it down a little bit. And you're on. So open hat. Maybe for the hi-hats, how about we're just going to have some maybe some flanger, why not? And that's that. So just by doing that, you know, it opens up like a whole range of opportunities for you to actually, you know, come up with some really interesting and exciting drum sounds. One last thing that I want to show you is this, okay? As you can see, all my drums are in fact, if I double click on that region, like that, you can see that all my drums are in fact contained within that one region, which can become a bit problematic, especially if I want to start arranging my drums. Okay, so imagine that I want to start with a hi-hat and then introduce the open hat, and then introduce the kick and so on. You know, so it just becomes a bit of an issue. Okay, so what I tend to do as well, which I find that it's very, very useful, is to simply right-click on your MIDI region. Okay, now you go to MIDI, and then what you want to select is separate by note pitch. And check this out. So as soon as I do that, MIDI automation. Sorry, what am I talking about? Right-click, MIDI, separate by note pitch. So what happens is that all of a sudden, what Logic has done has created 4 new regions, and in each new region, I've got my different sounds, which is great. Now what I can do, I can simply do this. Imagine that I want to start with a hi-hat. You know, I can just go ahead and, you know, sort of do that. Okay, delete my kick, delete the snare, and oopsie. And that's that. Well, let's have a quick listen, and you see what I mean. And you're on. So that's actually a really, really easy way to, you know, to actually sort of start arranging the drums. And that's that. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Au revoir.